What's up, Bills Mafia? My name is Colin. This is Crack the Table. We're all Bills, no breaks. We've got a wave of injury updates for you. We just had the Friday injury report come out. I want to talk about all of them. I want to break them all down right here on today's episode of Crack the Table. But again, if you have not joined our community, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Drop again a score prediction down below if you haven't already. But also, if you're looking ahead of this game and you're looking at players on the other team that you're interested in following and seeing how they play, let me know. At the end of this video, I want to show you two players that I'm interested in, or that I'm watching, because I think there's a handful of really good players on the Panthers that I've been looking up, and I want to see our players match up against them well. But again, I want to get right into this injury report. There's a bunch of things that I want to talk about and break down. You can see it right here on the screen, but the one I want to talk about here, the official move just came out here at about 4:01 p.m. And the transaction behind that is that Taylor Rapp has been placed on the injured reserve. Now, you might know this. There's a lot of things to acknowledge here. First of all, Taylor Rapp has had a rough beginning of the year. We found out a couple days ago that Taylor Rapp has had a knee injury ever since training camp. I didn't personally know that. He's had a couple things nicked up here and there, but we didn't know the extent of the injury, so much so that the extent of this injury is now that he's on injured reserve. Now, couple other things with this. The first one is that every single season we get up to now 10 injured reserve, 10 short-term injured reserve players that can go out for 4 weeks and come back while still maintaining or still being on our active roster without having to cut the player, do an injury settlement or something of the sort. So Taylor Rapp is on the injured reserve. We'll see if our team puts one of those tags on him. I'm not sure, but again, there's implications on our team right now. I believe the corresponding move with this IR move is that Jordan Poyer is going to, I believe, join our roster this upcoming week against the Panthers. We'll see. Some people have been talking about Jordan Hancock. We'll see if he gets some more reps. But I believe right now we have 2 open roster spots. But again, just broadly, I'm giving a little bit of grace to Taylor Rapp based off the extent of his knee injury that we didn't really know about. I think a lot of people have been really questioning his regression out of Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp. I think going into this year, I think we knew that Cole Bishop's ceiling would have been higher. But again, he's had his own issues. But I think Taylor Rapp was potentially going to be the more consistent of the two. But a couple other things I want to talk about is this. We got confirmation again that Josh Palmer will be out. Daquan Jones will be out with a calf injury. But then also, again, just Taylor Rapp is definitely out. He's on IR now. But then the other one that I want to talk about here is that Curtis Samuel was a full participant, no longer limited in practice, and will be a go Sunday against the Panthers. So we've been crying for wide receiver help. We've been asking Keon Coleman to ascend, to grow. But frankly, and you'll have to fact check me on this one. Someone said this in comments the other day, and I don't know for sure, but Curtis Samuel, I believe, has missed more games than he's actually played since his time arriving a couple years ago here for the Buffalo Bills, which is concerning, right? But when he's been in, he has been an okay separator. He has been a pretty good player. I'm big into the fantasy world, and a couple years ago, Matt Harmon was constantly talking up Curtis Samuel. We'll see how Joe Brady schemes him up. I think Khalil Shakir is solid in the slot. I believe, even as we just see in the rest of this tweet here, that Dalton Kincaid is potentially going to be playing. He was limited, but he was out as of yesterday, or actually as of 2 days ago. He was out of the non-contact jersey, which means that he was scaling up, which means that he's potentially going to be playing on Sunday. So I'm looking for that. But Khalil Shakir, Josh Palmer, and even Josh Palmer, Curtis Samuel, and Khalil Shakir. I think the 3 of those guys are going to be later on in the seasons, really the receivers, if they can all stay healthy, if they can all get healthy, the guys who are really moving the ball down the field in our receiving core. Now, we can still trade for somebody. The trade deadline's still a little bit more than a week away, so we're unsure about what we're going to see with that. But on the other front, again, Dalton Kincaid coming back and him playing out of the slot has just been mismatch paradise for Josh Allen, especially when we can play 12 personnel or jumbo sets with Dawson Knox and Jackson Haas. But again, lots of things to talk about our offense. We'll see if Joe Brady makes any improvements. We'll see if Joe Brady makes any moves. But I want to talk also here about Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano. This upcoming week, we're going to go against the Panthers, who, of course, their slogan is keep pounding. We know that they want to run the ball. We know that they are a team who just wants to continue to dominate the line of scrimmage, to push the ball, especially these Dave Canales offenses. We saw all the way back in his time for the Buccaneers that they just wanted to run the ball. And we're seeing a lot of teams in the NFL right now have success with that. Dave Canales is that's what he wants to do, especially with Andy Dalton under center. The receivers are not going to have as many reps. They're not going to have as many time, or have as much time with Andy Dalton to get synced up with him. I know they've had almost a full week to practice, but also, again, I just think Rico Dowdle coming off a couple big games, and Chuba Hubbard, who before he was injured, had a couple good games, is going to be the thing that changes the scales of this game. Is can we stop the running backs of the Panthers? And I think two key assets that are actually going to be stopping the run for the Bills this upcoming week is going to be Matt Milano, and it's going to be Terrell Bernard. I believe both of them are going to be playing, and I believe that is going to be the case because even a week ago I talked about this, how Matt Milano was not placed on the IR after he re-injured his arm after the pec bicep, and that Jimmy Charlo was placed on the practice squad. We brought Jimmy Charlo up because of the injury, but now because Dorian Williams and Shaq Thompson and even Joe Andrees, a lot of these guys, I think they're all going to get time. I think they're all going to get playing time this upcoming week. But because we have 5 linebackers on the roster and we've brought Jimmy Charlo back to the practice squad, I think we're set, and I think we're going to see Terrell Bernard. I think we're going to see Matt Milano back. But kind of rambling here. But again, Sean McDermott was asked about Maxwell Hairston and if he is going to get a shot to play on Sunday. Again, if you haven't gone on Twitter, go look at Sal Capaccio's, look at the plays that he had from yesterday's practice with Maxwell Hairston. Maxwell Hairston looks very, very fast. He looks great. Frankly, he looks faster than Benford. We knew that. He's got that 4.29 speed, or 4.28 officially, I believe it was again. But Sean McDermott said that when asked if he was going to play on Sunday, he said, we'll see. I want him out there. I'm ready for him. But again, if we have to wait another week or two, he had the grade 2 LCL sprain at the end of July, and we're at like week 12. We're at almost the week 12 mark, week 13 mark here, and so he should have a full recovery by this time. Again, normally with those types of injuries. So again, quick roundup here: Daquan Jones out, Josh Palmer out, Taylor Rapp on IR, Kincaid, Bernard Milano questionable, but I think all 3 are going to play in my opinion. But then Curtis Samuel is active. Again, one thing to note that was just coming from some news earlier today, we saw Bryce Young out in the practice field getting some reps. Some people were thinking that meant and that entailed that Bryce Young would actually be playing on Sunday. He had the high ankle sprain, and usually at this point of a high ankle sprain, you would not be back. And so it looks like a mild case. But even with that being said, a lot of people are just thinking that Andy Dalton's going to be playing. Even a spokesperson from the Panthers are just kind of confirmed, believing that Andy Dalton is going to be the quarterback. But I want to give you a couple, like 4 or 5 quick highlights from the Rounding Up the Herd. I love this document. About every week they come out with one. But one big stat that, if you're like me, I love stats. I love when I'm talking to my friends, when I'm talking football, I love the stats. I like to nerd out on these things. But fun fact, Josh Allen is a machine once he's come off 2 losses. He's a bounce back machine. He has never lost 3 straight games. After losing 2 games, he is actually 7-0. He's got 100 passer rating, 15 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, and he's on a 4-game win streak when he throws for 2 or more touchdowns, which is tied for the longest active streak. But we've also got a dual threat dominance. Josh Allen has already ran for about 250 yards, and James Cook and him combined have almost run for 800 in total yards, right? Which is the 3rd most by any QB running back duo in the NFL. So people talking about our offense being terrible, it's really just the production of a couple key receivers that's been terrible. But with just 2 more rushing touchdowns, guess what? Josh Allen is going to surpass Cam Newton's a record in the NFL, which is 77, which is currently the most in the NFL, right? Which is the record, right? But we've got this other guy, again, it talks about in here up top, that Deion Walker has stuffed opponents 10% of runs. Again, second best overall in the NFL. We love that. He is a 4th round rookie that could have been a 1st round, but we got him. Brandon Beane did steal one there. He's emerging again as a major factor for the Bills right now, already in midseason. He's been so great. But not only that, even as I just already noted with James Cook, he is 2nd in the NFL behind only Jonathan Taylor in rushing yards per game. He's been very, very good. We're going against Derek Brown this upcoming week, who is only allowed, by the way, the Panthers only allowed 130 131 rushing yards in the last 3 games. But he's quietly, James Cook, putting together a really great breakout season after we gave him this big contract. But again, the rising star of our team, I believe 30-year player now, Kincaid, out of all tight ends in the league, he's leading them with 12 yards per target. And he can become really the first Bills tight end ever to have back-to-back 100 yards games, which is great. Last year was a real big letdown with his knee injury, but he's come back and he's had a level of explosiveness. We'll see if this oblique injury holds him back from producing at a high level. But again, just a couple last things. Milestones to watch. Again, with a win, Josh Allen passes Peyton Manning with 80 wins for 4th most wins by a QB in his first 8 seasons. That's great. Dawson Knox is 1 touchdown away from tying Peerless Price for 25 touchdowns, right? 10th most receiving touchdowns in Bills history. But then Joey Bosa can also set a team record for forced fumbles if in a season if he only gets 1 more, which is incredible. So lots of things to talk about, but I want to talk about, again, one Panther that I'm a little bit worried about is this guy, Derrick Brown, who has had an insane season. A couple years ago, gets picked up, gets drafted by the Panthers, but he has been exceptional. Again, only 131 rushing yards allowed in the last 3 games. The Panthers are on a win streak right now. They're playing pretty well. We'll see exactly what, James Cook and our offensive line can do against this guy. From a strategy perspective, I think one of the things that I really want to see our team do is run the opposite way. Maybe a lot of outside zone runs rather than in the middle. Let's not try to test this guy. Let's run the ball away from him. But then another Panther that I'm looking at right now, we've already got these receiving woes on our team, but again, J.C. Horn Jr. Has been having a really, really good season. 3 interceptions. He leads all corners. 1 allowed touchdown. Again, leading all corners right now in the NFL. 44 allowed passer rating. Let's not throw the ball to whoever is guarding J.C. Horn. This last week against the Falcons, I think it was, oh my goodness, AJ Terrell, is that what his name is? I can't remember off the top of my head, but we kept throwing to their best. We kept throwing to one of our receivers who is guarded by their best corner. Let's not do that. Let's learn lessons and let's not throw the ball J.C. Horn's way. Let's get in Kincaid's hands if he's playing. Let's get it in Khalil Shakir's hands, and hopefully Curtis Samuel becomes a big weapon for us this upcoming week. But again, in all of it, my name is Colin. This is Crack the Table. We're all Bills, no breaks, every single day, breaking down Buffalo Bills content. Thank you so much for stopping by. God bless. Go Bills. Have a great day.